Someone who's got a front row seat to everything happening in New York City real estate is Frances Katzen. She's founder of the Katzen team at Douglas Elliman. She's back with us here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker studio. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. When Charlie was talking about the yield on the 10-year, you were like shaking your head.
Yeah.
Because certainly mortgage rates follow the 10-year. But
correct.
To be fair, a lot of your clients don't take mortgages.
Well, I mean, we just saw a huge barometer about that, right?
Yeah.
We saw the market from basically 4 million to 4.995 go down 59.2% in May, and then basically uptick to 57% in non-movement, meaning nothing's happening. Every other segment has this sort of movement, but the 10-year Treasury yield used to basically track the 30-year fix. Now we're at 7% on average. It's very stressful because the people that need that amount of borrowed leverage to get into the upper movement, and there's an opportunity to get in much less, can't make it happen. And that's the 59.3% reduction of non-trading in that segment. Nuts.
Well, when it comes to the people who are moving, I forget how many Ds there are, but divorce, death, diamonds, diapers, that's another one.
Diamonds? Oh,
yeah,
for when you get married?
Yeah, and then they buy a house or an apartment or whatever. The people who are still moving, specifically in New York, I mean, are they moving because they have to, or are we seeing things loosen up on that front?
Those are the only movements, and they're far and few between because most are renting. That's why you're seeing a 40.5% uptick in rental. It's the highest amount of leases signed year over year in like the 6th increase in like 7 months. Nuts. So I think some are buying, but some are priced out or simply can't get their head around a 7% versus a 2.5%.
I want to talk a little bit more about the rental market because I actually recently moved.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I moved like 2 weeks ago. I had wanted to buy a year ago. I quickly discarded that dream. And then we found this apartment, and the listing price or the price per month was just a little bit too high. So we said, we'll pay you $500 less per month. And they said, okay, great, it's yours, which I was really surprised about. I know that it's just anecdata, but what is the state of the rental market? I mean, it seems like rents are still going up, but then you hear stories like mine.
Well, you're lucky is what I can say, because what we're dealing with is multiple applications that are cannibalizing. Yeah, I just did it at 450 East 83rd Street. We had 7 apps, and one is over $500 more, actually. We rented it above the ask. The concessions are still very little. There's 27.5% more inventory now on the rent side, and I suspect because people don't want to take less than what they want for a sale, so they're basically converting. I think you're the anomaly, honestly. I think there's such a tight... Look, it's a double-edged sword. It's like way overpriced rental, or who can help you get the hit to make the numbers work until there's a refi that takes place maybe at the end of the year or first quarter of next year. I don't know.
Yeah,
you know.
I will say, I think we were lucky. I promise it's a nice apartment that we moved into, but...
Manhattan?
Oh yeah, Upper East Side.
Well, that's one of the segments that's sort of very interesting, actually, for opportunity.
Well, tell me more. I mean, I already signed my lease and we're moved in, but interesting in what way?
Depending on how far east you are from the west side of the east side, if that even makes sense, there's a little bit more negotiability because I think that people want to be close to their commute. So there's a little bit less desirability, and a lot of that product may be not as desirable based on post-war, lower ceiling, not particularly the main event in terms of inventory. You're competing with a lot more newer product. There seems to be a nice opportunity for family-centric need next to schools to get in on the Upper East Side.
Where are you seeing activity?
Downtown, the usual. Brooklyn, oh my gosh. On fire.
Please keep
Brooklyn's
going.
Brooklyn
on fire,
is
Tim.
on fire.
I've been saying this for years. It's where all the cool people live.
It really is. I'm
I
feeling
think it's
very
the Upper
uncool.
East Side that's popping relative to Brooklyn.
I don't know.
Please,
Brooklyn's got
Frances,
it going
continue.
on.
What's going on with Brooklyn?
It's exceeding price per square foot demand. People used to walk in and say, I want to look at West Village, Tribeca, and maybe Flatiron. Now
and now
they're
they
like
say Cobble Hill.
they'll do
Carroll
West
Gardens.
Village and Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And they'll do Greenpoint, or they'll do, Carroll Gardens, or they'll do Williamsburg, whatever. But it's no longer this outlier. It's part of the downtown
I will
vibe.
say, walking around Williamsburg in this day and age is like
It's
walking
lit.
around the West Village.
It-
not in terms of, or maybe Soho in terms of retail. Not in terms of the character by any means, but in terms of what retail is there. It's pretty incredible.
It's
to see.
incredible. Those restaurants, the vibe, the indie feel of it, the independent nature of these stores, and in Greenpoint, it's cool. It's got it going on. And the pricing's only getting stronger.
When your lease expires, you can move to Brooklyn, Katie.
In 2 years?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I think I'm going to New Jersey after that. But, I mean, after the segment ends, I'll tell you exactly where I moved. But I do want to clarify. I mean, we got a deal on this apartment, but I will say when we were looking around, maybe a little bit closer to the Bloomberg office, there were bidding wars for rental apartments.
Thank you.
We toured one beautiful apartment, and then we followed up later that night over email, and they said, tell us what you would be willing to pay because everyone who saw it today wants it.
Wait, it was like best and final?
Yes,
for
best and final for
a
a rental.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
what happens. That's what's happening right now on all of my product. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean,
Nuts.
how does this end? I mean, how do things get better?
So it's a really good question, right? It's like the chicken or the egg. I think that, so here's the dilemma. Right now, nobody is really buying at the same pace that they did in 2021 and 2022, right? So there's this inherent opportunity to get in at a wholesale price and really buy up. The big issue for most is how to tolerate that really high carry. So my advice is you don't want to be buying when everybody else is buying because there is no inherent value to that. You're basically paying upmarket pricing based on supply and demand. So you can refi, and you can always refi. You can't refinance the purchase. And so the refi becomes the play. How long do you have to carry that higher number? And to me, that's the inherent value. To me.
I've heard higher for longer in certain places, mainly this studio and from Jay Powell and company.
Out on the street? Is that
Out on the
what
street,
you're
I'm
talking
very
about in
much.
Brooklyn?
No, we don't talk about it in Brooklyn.
No.
That's
hey,
a dirty
Francis, before we let you go, I'm curious about where people move when they do list apartments with you. Where are they going?
Out of here.
Like
Yeah.
New Jersey, like Katie said.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
We've got people, I mean, some of it is New Jersey, some of it is Florida, some of it is going to be in Westchester. I mean, it's like they want to get out of the city. These are people who've had their run and they want to cash out. Or they're at a time in their life where they don't want to do stairs anymore, literally big, finance players who just are like, I've got too much real estate. I want to size down, but I want to take a rental and stay near my kids in the city, but I'm going out. I'm going to go get something somewhere else.
That's interesting.
I wasn't that specific on that one
That's
because they're
okay.
all so different.
Specifically stairs, though? They don't want to go up and down the stairs?
Some. Very interesting. Yeah. We're getting to the point where we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And they're perfectly fine, but it's like,
I feel like young parents too who lift strollers up and down stairs. They do that for a little while and then they're like, I'm done.
I'm
with
done.
this."
It's over.
Yeah.
the townhouse is gone. in
Actually,
Brooklyn.
yeah, the townhouses. They're beautiful from the outside, but in terms of practicality.
Don't leave your keys on the top floor.
Yes, yeah. Hey, Francis, always good to see you.
Really nice
Thanks,
to see you,
Thanks
Tim.
for joining
Thanks,
us.
Tim.
That's
Thank you.
Frances Katzen of the Katzen team. She's the founder of the Katzen team over at Douglas Elliman. We got much more at Bloomberg Businessweek coming up as we get ready to drive to the close. We are seeing stocks higher today. The S&P 500 up 0.5 percentage point. The